later in the day.
Thank you for that advice, Mr. Speaker. I'm actually through with my speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member. Member for Burnaby North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for Caribou-Chilcotin for putting gas prices on our agenda this morning. British Columbians are anxious to know why gas is so expensive and what we're doing about it. And I'd like to provide them with some answers. First of all, this current crisis has been decades in the making and largely caused by decisions made beyond our borders. The oil industry has been called an oligopoly. That is, a small number of companies own and sell most of the supply, and instead of competing with each other, they work together to mutually maintain profits. And that's why, when there's a fire in a refinery in Ohio, or when water levels in the Mississippi River is so low that oil barges run aground on their way to the Gulf Coast, or when Russia invades Ukraine, gas prices go up in lockstep everywhere. We've been through this before. The first oil crisis occurred in 1973, when Arab states proclaimed an embargo on countries that supported Israel. Within a year, the price of oil went up 300%. It happened again in 1979, this time sparked by the Iranian Revolution. Our federal government tried to control the price of gas for Canadians. Remember Pierre Trudeau's ill-fated National Energy Program? Remember when Petro-Canada was still a Crown corporation? But also remember when Albertans proudly sported bumper stickers that hoped Eastern Canadians would freeze in the dark. Gas prices have long been contentious. But why are gas prices so much higher in BC than the rest of Canada? Again, it's supply and demand, and it's baked into our market-based economic system. Simply put, we don't refine enough oil in BC to meet local demand. We import most of our refined oil from the United States and Alberta. There are 18 oil refineries in Canada. More than half of them are in Alberta and Ontario. The largest one is in New Brunswick. And there are two small refineries remaining in BC, the Parkland Refinery in Burnaby and the Tidewater Refinery in Prince George. Together, they produce only 30% of the gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel consumed here. I say remaining refineries because there used to be a lot more of them on the Burrard Inlet. Petro-Canada, in operation since 1958, Shell Canada since 1932, and Imperial Oil since 1915, all closed. So now, when a refinery in Washington shuts down for maintenance, our gas prices spike. And demand continues to grow. A record 100,000 people moved to BC last year alone. And gas prices are only one component of a cost of living that has been higher here for as long as I can remember. One of the most hotly contested debates in the Public Service Alliance of Canada, convention after convention in the 70s and 80s, was regional rates of pay. For example, a skilled tradesperson working on a Canadian Forces base in Ontario was paid less than one doing the same job on a base in BC because the cost of living was so much higher in BC. So what can a provincial government do about it? Some have urged us to remove the carbon tax. Alberta already tried something like that, and when they discovered that the savings were being absorbed into profits, not being passed on to the consumer, they admitted defeat and reinstated the tax. In BC, we've taken a more structural approach. We recognize that gas prices are just one component of an affordability crisis. In the short term, we're providing direct relief. We've lowered car insurance rates. We've provided ICBC rebates. We've removed the tolls on bridges. And we're boosting the Climate Action Tax Credit and BC Family Benefit. Our long-term strategy is to incentivize British Columbians to reduce our reliance on volatile gas prices and fight climate change together. Rebates encourage us to purchase zero-emission vehicles. So do our investments in a network of charging stations. And right down the street from me in Burnaby North, Parkland is rapidly transitioning to biofuel. Already, it has the highest bio content at the pump. They're world leaders and are on track to meet 50% of BC's renewable fuel goals. Mr. Speaker, The world is changing. Our climate is changing, and so too must be the way we fuel our vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you, Member.